Hi, I'm here from Student Academic Success Services to talk to you really quickly about ways that you can cope with information overload. What do you do when you're in a really complex lecture, you're doing a really dense reading, or working on anything else where a lot is being thrown at you really quickly and you're not sure what to do and how to cope with that information, but you do know you need to learn it really quickly and use it very soon afterwards. So I'm going to show you a really simple process. There are basically three big stages. We're going to do something to prepare for any class or information overload kind of event. We're going to learn to focus our attentions during that event, and we're going to find a good way to review after the event. So the first step that I always recommend is, even if you feel you know really very little about a topic that you know that you're going to be working on or being lectured to about, is to try and activate any kind of prior knowledge you have. So do things like skim read encyclopedias, websites or tutorials, watch YouTube videos. You don't really need to understand all of this information. All you need to do at this stage is to look for keywords, key terms, key ideas, so you kind of know what to expect, and you'd be surprised at the ways in which your brain will start to make connections between things you've learned in the past and the material you are about to learn in the future. And I recommend you do this first a few days before any class or event or training session, and then again on the morning of the session, just a few minutes to get your brain focusing and get your brain thinking about what you're about to work on. The second step then is to prepare to focus your attention during the session itself. And what I would do is to write down a list of what I think are the most important questions based on that reading and thinking that I've done. What are the key terms? What are the big ideas, the concepts, the theories that I might need to know that might potentially be coming up in the session I'm about to observe or listen to? If you're really struggling with this, you might also just create a really simple kind of note-taking template. Give yourself a space for listing out key terms, definitions, things like that you can look up and find the answers to after the session. Create an area where you can just do some summary kind of notes, and then create an area at the bottom of your note-taking template with things you need to follow up on. So big ideas that you really didn't understand. Maybe you were losing attention during the second half of the session. All of these things are just going to make sure that you're directing your attentions correctly and efficiently and effectively when you're actually in the session itself. The third step is to think about focusing your notes during the session itself. So when you're in there, I highly recommend you keep your notes simple. Don't try and take word for word notes on what you're hearing or what you're seeing, because it's too much. You can't listen and write at length at the same time. So use shorthand, use bullet points, use different languages, use text message speak. And you might also try visual note taking, so using something like a mind map or a chart, so you're working mostly diagrammatically rather than trying to write things out at length. And finally, you might also try using something like Google Documents or any kind of document where you can write with a friend at the same time to address key questions and actually take notes together. And that's going to share the burden. If your friend understands half of it and you understand the other half, then you're going to be good. Once the session has ended, spend some time reviewing your notes. And what I would do is to space out your learning. So don't try and remember everything all at once. Instead, especially if you have lengthy lists of definitions, bear in mind what we would call a kind of rule of 7. Mostly you can remember about 7 new things at once. So if you have 30 things to remember, then it might take you 4 or 5 sessions to remember things. If you intersperse those sessions with quick review sessions of what you've already looked at, and try and mix up different topics so you're always forcing your brain to go from one thing to another thing, you're going to learn more effectively. And secondly, you might also try teaching some of the key ideas to somebody else. So if you have that note-taking buddy, why not spend some time doing some quick review and just spending 30 seconds to a minute describing key topics to each other. If you can teach it to somebody else, you definitely understand it yourself. And my final piece of advice is, don't be afraid to get stuck in there and just try out what you're learning. When you're working on something practical like the things you're working on with QMIND, then much of the learning you're going to do is going to be made concrete, and you're going to find the areas that you're weaker on and stronger at as well, so you can take some confidence just by actually doing it. So the best piece of advice is, if you're feeling really overwhelmed, to try doing something. Work with other people, Ask your friends questions, ask the session leaders questions, ask the president of the club questions, and ask them for support and advice. And the more you do it, the better you will get. So thank you very much from us at Student Academic Success Services. If you're looking for more advice on any kind of academic skills, learning or writing topics, then check out our website at sas.queensu.ca or follow us on Instagram or Facebook for all of the things that we are offering this semester and in the future.